The lonely walker of Starlight. Imagine, for a moment, those long, silent nights. When the entire city was deep in slumber, shrouded in a perfect darkness, an old man would sit on his rooftop and speak to the sky. His name was Galileo Galilei. The heavens were his closest friend, and the stars were the keepers of his deepest secrets. In his hand, he held a magic window, a device that could bring the farthest objects near, his own creation, the telescope. In those times, people believed that the earth was the center of everything. The sun, the moon, and 1,000 stars were like puppets on invisible strings, destined to dance around the earth forever. This belief was as solid as rock, etched into the hearts of humanity for 1,000 years. But one night, as Galileo placed his magic window to his eye, his own world turned upside down. He saw tiny, glittering points of light dancing beside the planet Jupiter. One night, then two, he watched them every night, and his heart began to tremble with a mixture of excitement and fear. What he was seeing was impossible. Those points of light were not circling the earth, they were circling Jupiter. It was as if the universe itself had leaned down to whisper a colossal secret into his ear. He realized that humanity was living in a grand illusion. Not the earth, but the sun was the heart of our world. Our familiar home was just a humble traveler, journeying around its star. His heart danced with the joy of a child who had discovered a hidden treasure. But when he went to share this joyous truth with the world, his world shattered once more. The most powerful institution of his time, the church, declared his words a heresy. Friends turned their backs on him, acquaintances began to avoid him. The very truth that was as constant as the North Star to him had, in an instant, made him utterly alone. He was surrounded by a fire of disbelief and anger. He was dragged before a great tribunal. On one side stood power, tradition, and 1,000 years of belief. On the other stood a single, old man, clutching a truth to his chest. The judges, with their ice-cold stares, demanded, "Will you admit your mistake? Will you say that the earth is stationary and the sun revolves around it?" Close your eyes and think of that man. He had two paths before him. One was to embrace a lie to save his own life. The other was to embrace death with a smile for the sake of truth. His soul was being torn apart. With the same eyes that had seen the laws of the cosmos, he now sought his own certain death. Finally, for the love of life, for the simple desire to breathe for a few more days among men, his lips trembled. One was to embrace a lie to save his own life. The other was to embrace death with a smile for the sake of truth. His soul was being torn apart. With the same eyes that had seen the laws of the cosmos, he now sought his own certain death. Finally, for the love of life, for the simple desire to breathe for a few more days among men, his lips trembled. In a broken, faint voice, he uttered the words, "I was wrong. The earth is stationary." A sigh of relief filled the great hall. The judges believed they had won. They had silenced the voice of truth. But what they did not see was the weeping of Galileo's soul. Legend says that as he walked away from the tribunal, with his head bowed low, he whispered something to the ground, a whisper almost unheard, "Eper Simov," and yet, it moves. No human ear may have heard that whisper, but the universe heard it. His body was defeated that day, but his spirit was not. Galileo's story is not just about planets and stars, it is the story of the battle within us all. It teaches us that the path of truth is often a lonely one. When you stand up for something you know is right, something others do not yet believe, the whole world may turn against you. You will be scared, you will be made to feel alone. But remember this, the seed of truth can be buried for a time, but it can never be destroyed. Sooner or later, it will sprout. True courage isn't about physical strength, it's the quiet, unshakable will to stand alone for what you believe in. Never let the voice of truth inside you die, for that is the voice that will one day change the world.